Sacrifice, gift and penance enjoined in the scriptures are always undertaken by the expounders of Brahman. The word tasmat is used meaning therefore. If we try to look at it according to the scriptures, then performing activities such as yajna, dan, donations and tap austerities, the Omkar is chanted and these activities begin. By chanting Omkar before performing any activities, these activities become free from faults and obstacles and are performed very well. The majority of commentators say the same thing. Madhusudan Saraswati ji says this, Kesav ji says this, Srimad Adi Shankaracharya ji says this, Ramanujacharya ji says this, and the majority of commentators say this. You should perform any activity by chanting Om at the beginning. All obstacles will fall away. Not only that, but all faults go away from the activity. Shankaran ji says that by chanting Om at the beginning and at the end, all the activities of yajna, dan, donations and tap austerities become great, are never left incomplete and become of the mode of sattva, goodness. Prakushtasa sangaha sattvikaha bhavanti iti arthaha. I said earlier at the beginning that I make this request every time that after seeing these verses of the 17th chapter, whenever you are performing yajna, dan, donations or tap austerities, or even if you are performing a fast of Ekadashi, the holy 11th day of the lunar fortnight, or any other fast, then you should first chant Om Tat Sat before performing the activity. What will happen as a result of this is that there are two main gains. First, there is no fault left in the activity either knowingly or unknowingly. If there's a fault involved, then the fault is avoided. You should chant it with your heart and with the feeling that Om Tat Sat. And secondly, it attains completeness. I will also say a third thing, that there is no bondage of that karma. The reason for this that Sri Krishna himself has said in the Gita that Sarva Ramba hi doshena dhumena agnir iva vrata. All enterprises are clouded by defects as fire is by smoke. Just like even if the best fire of all, if there is a fire then smoke will come. In the same way, if you perform any action, then there will be a fault in it. There cannot be any activity that is without faults. Shri Krishna says that you should never have a fear that there will be a fault in any action that you perform. If you perform any action, then the fault will come into it. How? Just like you light a fire, then smoke will come. The person lighting the fire never decides that he wishes for smoke to come. He never wants it, but it still comes. Even if you light a fire from vermilion, then smoke will come. In the same way, all actions are clouded by faults. No matter which action you perform, there will be faults in it. Even if you perform the best deed of all, 8 to 10 people will say that you're a good person, but 2 people will say bad things about you. This will always be there. You should not worry about this. But when the fault comes, then you should give up the action. No, Shri Krishna of the Gita has never been ready to let you give up an action. Then what should you do about the fault? You should cure the fault. How does that fault go away? You should make efforts to make this happen. You had the wish for the fire and your cooking is being made on the fire. The goal that you wanted is coming into place. So if there is smoke, then you should tolerate the smoke. And when a lot of smoke comes, then there is so much smoke that no fire remains, then you should make efforts to make this go away. In the same way, whenever you perform an action, then faults are going to come into it. Therefore, you should decide how many faults are there in the action. If there's a little fault and a few people are doing something, then you should let it happen. You should look at whether you're performing the satkarma in the work that you're doing and whether your spiritual development is taking place. If this is the case, then you should keep walking forward. And if such a state comes where there's a lot of smoke comes and your development stops happening, then you should make efforts to make the smoke go away. And while your work is being done, then you should not worry about this. Sarva aramhi doshena dhumena agnir iva arvata. All enterprises are clouded by defects as fire is by smoke. Has this not happened in Shri Krishna's life? Bhaumashur was harassing 16,000 women. Shri Krishna defeated Bhaumashur without any selfishness and killed him. He freed all these women, and God did not even have the thought in his mind that he is going to marry all these women. He was just there to free them. God performed a satkarma divine act. From that, the fault arose that nobody accepted these women. Neither their parents accepted them, neither the hospitals accepted them. What then should they do? Shri Krishna said it does not matter, and he married them himself to give them a status in society. Shri Krishna had performed a revolutionary activity by performing 16,000 marriages. These weddings were not for material enjoyment, it was to support these women and to give these women a place in society. Therefore this can happen. If you perform any action, then there will be faults in it. You should not become afraid of faults. When a small child learns to walk, then it falls. When it learns how to cycle, then it gets some cuts and bruises. If a child does not even take the cycle thinking, what if I get cuts and bruises, they'll not be able to go further, and he thinks that what if I fall, then one would have to carry him throughout his whole life. Over here, Shri Krishna is saying that before you perform any action, you should chant Om Tat Sat. If you're performing wrong deeds, then you incur the faults of them, but bondages of Satkarma also arise. Just like if one has bondages to sins, they will go to hell. If a person has bondages to Satkarma, then for these Satkarma they have to go to heaven. When these karmas are used up, then they have to come back to earth. They have to come back to experience the fruits of the Satkarma. The cycles of life and death keep running, but one who wishes to attain liberation should chant Om Tat Sat before performing the activity, and when he does, then even bondages to Satkarma will not remain. Therefore, two conclusions can be made. If there is a fault knowingly or unknowingly in Satkarma, then it will go away and no bondages to karmas will arise. If you perform yagna, dan, donations, tap, austerities, then you should first chant Om Tat Sat in your mind. You get a lot of bliss by doing this at that time. Then no event for dan, donations of the mode of tamas donas will arise. By chanting Om Tat Sat before surrendering something, you have the attitude that I do not want anything, and therefore no bondages can arise. Every action should begin like this. Next verse.